Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a wellness tech entrepreneur and a philanthropist from Seattle, USA, Gurpreet Sunny Singh. Sunny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Pleasure to be on your show, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Sunny is the founder of Edifecs and RoundGlass. And as I mentioned, he's a philanthropist based in Seattle. So, Sunny, before we talk of RoundGlass and all the amazing work that you're doing in Punjab and all the other parts of this country, tell me about your journey and what was the inspiration to become an entrepreneur?
So yeah, it's interesting. I spent half my life in the U.S., half in India. So I came here when I was 23 years old to study to do a master's. I did a couple of masters in the U.S. and then did a couple of jobs. And very soon I realized that I'm not a corporate person. I'm not a corporate guy. I'm cut on more to kind of do the things that I believe in and at the pace at which I believe in and the decisions that I can own. And so I decided to become an entrepreneur at the age of 32 when I founded my first company, Edifecs. It's some people have a very definitive idea of what they want to do as they become an entrepreneur, or some actually experiment a little bit. I was the latter. I was thinking, okay, I'm not a corporate guy because it was not suiting my state of being, and so I said, what do I do? And I experimented with a few ideas to then eventually come down to saying, hey, look, my competency is electronic commerce, software, etc. So I started my first company, which was very focused on the electronic means of exchanging information and electronic commerce, etc. So in a way, on top of that, I wasn't planning to come to the US. It just, it's an interesting story. We can talk about that later, why I ended up in the US. But that's my kind of a short summary of how I ended up being an entrepreneur.
And, when I was reading about you, it was interesting to learn that you had some personal experiences with the US healthcare system, which impacted your professional mission. Tell me about this.
So my first company was in healthcare. And so I spent about 25 years really servicing the healthcare industry to make it more operationally efficient. And that's what we did. We were very good at, we used to process billions of transactions for the US healthcare system, information that's exchanged electronic, like claims and payments and medical records and whatnot between different entities like insurance companies, government, employers, hospitals, providers, etc. And we had more additional products on top of that. And we understood the healthcare system really well in the US and pretty much across the world. And I realized that the healthcare system is what I call a sick care system or a disease management system. If you fall sick, we either do nothing, pump you with chemicals, or put you under the knife. Pretty much that's how the US spends north of $4 trillion a year. The preventative and the pre-preventative or the lifestyle, leading a good lifestyle, was absolutely missing. Preventative was more namesake and lip service. So I'll give an example. If you ever get a physical done, it takes you longer to get to a doctor than otherwise if you have to see the doctor for some other reason. So getting good physicals done and good checkups done is not encouraged. And then or two, if you do a physical or a checkup, preventative checkup, it is very weak and almost in a way useless. And so I was very disenchanted of how healthcare become a business of care versus a system of care for people. And of course, the company did well. We made our money in the healthcare system, making more operationally efficient. But I was always in the back of mind saying, something has to be done where the system should care for people, right? It should be a system of care for every patient and actually preventing patients from becoming patient. And so the journey of holistic well-being started in my mind. But being in the healthcare system, being in the very, we were the nervous system of a healthcare system, really exchanging, making sure the data was moving around seamlessly and processed seamlessly. So you kind of knew what was going on.
Very, very interesting. And what are some of the core values that have consistently guided you through your entrepreneurial ventures? Because just before we started, I was talking to your colleague, and she was telling me that you're doing some incredible work in Punjab, with trees, in sports. So you're doing so many different things.
I think sometimes I think I'm doing too much.
Okay.
Human beings like to, make themselves and keep themselves busy, I
Correct.
presume.
Correct.
But we're doing a lot of good work in India
Mm,
and the U.S.-India bilateral. As I was building my company and I looking, and my worldview was changing a little bit. And after my first company, I didn't have to do anything. I sold it in two chunks, 5 years, and just very recently the other half. And I didn't have to do anything. I'd been there, done that. But the reason that the whole concept of round glass to enable holistic well-being for humanity, it came about just because I said, number one, it didn't sit well with me that we didn't have a good system for caring for people, and I realized it's a lifestyle issue.
correct.
How do we live? And if you can show people how to live well, 70 to 80% of our healthcare dollars in the US at least, and it's proportionate in other countries too, are spent on lifestyle diseases, diabetes, hypertension, stress, anxiety, back pains, and then, of course, end of life. And I said, these lifestyle diseases are because you're not living well. And so the whole, and I had upon my first company, and I'll tell you about my North Star and my value system. My first company, I said, if I do another venture, number one, it has to be global. It has to be revolutionary. It has to directly impact human beings. Otherwise, I won't do it.
Correct.
That means I have to give back, service humanity. And throughout my first company, and the reason how I thought about the second, my North Star is very, very clear. Everything is black and white. There's no shades of gray for me. And I've been that way, even though I didn't realize it from time beginning, is that number one, integrity matters, right? No matter what you say, trust, integrity, honesty matters. And I've walked away from deals that are very significant because I didn't feel it was an honest dealing. And I said, I will suffer the consequences. But I came out okay on the other end. But you have to leap a leap of faith, and you have to be able to withstand the storm. And I was okay saying, hey, whatever comes, but I will not do business at any cost.
Correct.
Number one. Number two is perseverance, right? I realized that I'm very persevering and resilient. When Edifecs, my first company, was almost on the verge of bankruptcy. Of course, we didn't become bankrupt, we didn't fold and we were very successful. But when the going got really, really tough, I hunkered down and became even more focused on what we were doing. I carried my people with me. I was the last one to eat, last one to get paid. So the perseverance, the resilience of withstanding storms and the onslaught of, because everybody thinks like, oh, being an entrepreneur is so much fun, it's so glamorous, etc. This is gut wrenching actually. And the success rate is very, very, very low. So resilience and perseverance was one, and then I carried my people with me. I never left anybody behind, and that has and those things came out during the downturn of Edifecs, and say, this is who I am. And then when I look back at my life prior to that, I said I was always like that. My thinking was always, except it didn't manifest itself, right? I was never given a chance to manifest my North Star value system, because that is only manifested when the chips are down. Adversity not only shapes you, but also shows you who you really are. It probably defines you, but it shows you who you really are as an individual when adversity strikes you. And so that became my North Star and my value system that I carried, that I was always like and carried forward in my life.
Thank you. Amazing 3 points you've given: trust, integrity, and honesty. Perseverance matters, and don't leave anyone behind. Thank you. Let's now talk about RoundGlass, Sunny. You just spoke a few minutes back about holistic well-being. Tell me about how you define holistic well-being and how is it different from traditional wellness approaches?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Ashutosh, that, if you look at today, wellness is more equated to spa and some massages and maybe a bit of yoga. Whereas well-being is also a very misunderstood and misused term today, given post-COVID, that everybody just talks about well-being, but they don't really truly understand what well-being is, let alone holistic well-being. So for them, well-being is, health plans, some benefits throw in some yoga, massage, meditation, and you have well-being. And they talk about mental well-being truly without really understanding what mental well-being is all about. So we came up with the term holistic well-being with a W, that you're looking at the whole person approach. How do you look the person from a mental, emotional, second is physical, and spirit, mind, body, and soul. How do you look at that as a complete person? And therefore, how do you ensure the person is whole, or you have your journey towards wholeness? Because in holistic well-being, there's no destination. It's just a journey. That's a beautiful part. When you're not chasing anything, you're just evolving every day. You're maturing every day. You're nurturing your soul. You're unleashing your potential. So that's a very beautiful thing, not to have a chase, because holistic well-being means you don't have a chase.
Okay.
And holistic well-being for us is 8 pillars. The way we look at it is 8 pillars. It is physical well-being, it's emotional/mental well-being, it is spiritual well-being, and then it is financial and professional well-being. It is also social well-being, which is your social tribe. Community well-being, how do you have a sense of service and service the community at large, and planetary well-being for the health of the planet. So we look at the holistic well-being as 8 pillars, and we believe that every individual should start looking at one item at a time, one pillar at a time, and incorporate holistic well-being in their life. So much so that I truly believe that holistic well-being is a silver bullet solution to every problem in the world. You give me any problem, I will track it down to the root common denominator solution being holistic well-being. So those 8 pillars, coupled with some other things that we do in terms of the ingredients of well-being, et cetera, we embarked upon saying we'll enable holistic well-being for humanity. And so that's kind of the whole paradigm behind it.
What a great response. Thank you. You're also, very good in technology, being from IIT. How do you integrate technology with mindfulness in all your well-being initiatives?
The way we look at it, Ashutosh, is that you can't escape technology, and it's going to get more and more ingrained in your life, like it or not like it, believe it or don't believe it. And if you look at the trending over the last decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, technology has become an imperative part of your personal life. Earlier it was company life, professional life, now it's your personal life. And it's going to get worse in that capacity. The way we look at it is that technology is an enabler and a scaling catalyst. How do we scale to millions and billions of people? Technology enables that. How do you, for example, I'll give you a couple of small examples because that put the context, because we think about it quite a bit. In our app, like we have an app to enable holistic well-being for people, for users. A lot of the app is reminding you and tracking you, tracking what you need to do. And therefore you don't have to think and worry about it because lives are so busy. So one is tracking and defining and telling you what needs to be done, or, hey, wake up because you need to know. The other is listening, right? Because we take our phones or our screens and we're looking at them all the time, right? A lot of holistic well-being is listening and doing upon instructions. You don't have to look at it, right? And therefore the screen time that you have to spend in enabling holistic well-being for yourself is much more reduced and optimized, because people think, I got a phone, I got holistic well-being, I'm going to glue to it. No. So much so that we are now building things so that if you are too much involved in looking at the screen, we will tell you it's too much, and go to something that's more audio-centric and instruction-centric and do it. Right? Whether it's working with nature, enjoying nature, or something in sense of service, or something you like listening to your body, right? These are very simple things in well-being that one can do, does not require me looking at a screen, right? And we are building such habits in the app so that you just you are enabled to do things automatically when a situation arises. You just know it. So for example, I will give you a small example. Let's say you get groggy after lunch, okay. You can create in your well-being plan, I want to do Yog Nidra, and half an hour after lunch. I eat lunch, I let it process, give it half an hour, maybe go for a walk or something, and do 25 minutes of Yog Nidra. All right. Now it's a listening command, but you know that I can do Yog Nidra. So you bring the app up, you click on Yog Nidra, you listen to it lying down, you're refreshed, right? So you're not looking at the screen. You are just using it as a enabling tool to whatever. If you have to prepare for sleep, there's a routine. I can follow the routine, but I don't have to look at the screen all the time because I'm getting instructions, reminders, etc. Or when I wake up, I have a rhythm. I have things that I do when I wake up for my well-being. So it is look at it as an instruction manual that you just get to know, because at that time you know how to play golf, you know how to look at how to play golf, so to speak, right? So that's how we marry technology with well-being or mindfulness. And mindfulness is a lot instructional. It's not, you don't have to look at somebody to do it. So this is a very important, and Ashutosh, you raised a good point, because this is very important for us, that we enable people to get less technologically addicted, less addicted to their phones, less addicted to the screens, especially if you're kids and teens. We keep that in mind because that's a very important thing, that you have to look around. You have to look in people's eyes and talk to them, give them a firm handshake, interact with real people, right? Smell the air versus buried in your screens all the time. So we actually have to dissuade them from moving away, and we have ways to do that too.
Yeah, amazing response. And as you were talking, I was looking at my own life, and every afternoon at 1 o'clock after lunch, I put on a 25-minute yoga nidra and lie down. Brilliant. Thank you.
Wonderful. So good to hear that.
Let's keep talking about RoundGlass. And you have a very, very powerful social side or a philanthropic side of RoundGlass. Tell me about the amazing work that you're doing in Punjab and what has been the social impact.
So my take fundamentally is, if God or the world, whichever power you believe in, gives you X, you have to give 100X back. The only reason you get X in financial resources, expertise, talent, experience, you have to give 100X back. That's the only reason you get it.
Correct.
And therefore, so for me, my life is now in service of humanity, in things that I believe and I can make an impact and I make a difference. So you have to find those callings. And I also believe, secondly, that every company in the world should take ownership of a partial social initiative, a full or more than one, depending on the dispositions, community they serve, the thing they're passionate about, and not just write a check to a foundation. So they should own the social problem, saying we are going to fix it. In the process, we're going to partner up with a foundation that does this work, but we will control it. If every company thought like that, there'll be no problem left in the world to solve, because companies are really good at solving problems. If they don't solve problems well, they'll disappear. It is in the innate nature to solve problems very effectively, efficiently, and innovate in solving problems. So that's number two. What I did was, I said we're going to focus on some areas, but we have 4 big giving areas. Number one is what we call RoundGlass Sustain, where we are chronicling and documenting the biodiversity of India. India is one of the most biodiverse countries in the world. We want Indians to fall in love with it, have pride in the biodiversity, and nurture it, and let the world come and enjoy it. So we are documenting in a very educative, entertaining manner the full biodiversity of India, starting with wildlife, habitat, human interaction with the wildlife, conservation, and climate, etc. The second we are doing is RoundGlass Sports. So we have 4 academies, one for football, tennis, field hockey, and golf. And we have created a complete framework of how this sport should really be played, keeping the athlete at the very center of it. Focus on the holistic development of the athlete. And in the process, you have great athletes, we form great teams. So we have at the very top pro teams and players. For example, Punjab FC plays in the ISL. It's a football team. Underneath that, we have elite youth. And we have close to about 300 elite youth from all over the entire country. We have scouted, fully residential paid up program. We have our own residential facilities, own chefs, own kitchen, own school. So it's a self-encapsulated, fully paid up plan for them. And then we nurture them with good technical staff. We're building great infrastructure, long-term program, et cetera, et cetera. Underneath that, we have what we call development centers, grassroots centers, and village sports. So the village talent dovetails into the grassroots centers. The grassroots development, that is Punjab centric only, because we're building Punjab into powerhouse of sports. But when we come to the elite, we go pan India, right? That means you have to compete now with the best of the best.
Correct.
And we have very audacious goals for all of them. But what has happened is, in 5 short years, our football and hockey teams have become number 1 in the country.
Wow.
Our junior, sub-junior, you look at under 17 and 15, all have become number 1 in the country. In tennis, Ashutosh, believe it or not, we have won over 650 titles in 4.5 years.
Incredible.
National, international. Right? 2 of the Davis Cup players are from our academy, of the 4. In 4.5 short years. And we just started golf now, and all our players are number 1, 2, and 3 in the country. We just started in March of this year. So our view was, how can we show India, how can we show the youth that this is how sports is done? And by the way, our commitment to all our athletes, so long you're in the academy in good standing, your first job is on us. So you might become a professional player. You can come back and work in RoundGlass Sports or RoundGlass. So we'll give you a job, or we'll find you a corporate job. So the first job is on us, play your heart out. We'll get you to school, college training, etc.
Yeah.
Now that's a very different take, and we have a 20-year plan. So our first phase for every giving initiative is 20 years. So there's a lot of innovation happening. Similarly, to kind of sum up the couple other things we're doing is one is RoundGlass Foundation work in the villages of Punjab. Punjab has about 12,000 villages. Our intent is to enable the holistic well-being of all those villages by making them eco-sustainable. So we have programs for youth development, women equity, and environment. And in youth development, we have now close to about over 1,000 sports centers in villages. Eventually, every village will have a sports center with multi-sports facility. We have learn labs for immersive learning after school. So the kids go from school to learn labs to playing games. They have no time to do drugs or do vagabonding. We have women equity programs. So over 75%, 76% of the beneficiary and participants in all our giving programs are women and young girls. And we didn't even try to do it. It just happened, right? Because we just did the right thing with the right people, etc. In the environment, we have three big projects. One is called the Billion Tree Project, where we're going to plant 1 billion trees in Punjab by 2035. Because otherwise Punjab becomes a desert by 2038. We have started waste management. We recycle solid waste from homes, so there's no garbage dumps. And we have compost, which is organic manure to be used by the farmers. And the third is regenerative farming, where we slowly, one farm at a time, we are moving them from chemical farming to regenerative farming. So youth development, women equity, and environment. The last one that I think should excite both people, Indian Americans in the US and Indians in India, is the Global India Collective, where we are enabling at a very grassroots level to better the bilaterals between India and the US by showing the best and the most authentic and the depth of India and what India can provide to the world, a gift to the world, to the US at all levels, and getting Indian Americans in the US more integrated in the social and political fabric of the US. That means they are getting into becoming senators, congress people, both at a national level, state level, local level, hopefully a president in my lifetime, and also getting them involved because Indian Americans have done really well in the US.
Correct.
So they're looked upon as say, you come here, take all our great jobs, make all this money, and there is a kind of a overt and sometimes implicit, sometimes explicit racism.
Correct.
Right? And I understand that. So I want Indian Americans to be involved in the social issues of the country, saying we not only make money, great companies, give jobs, but we are here to solve the social problems because this is our country, because we live here, our kids are living here. So that's the Global India Collective. So those are the four things that we do, three totally based in India and one for the bilateral.
Incredible. Biodiversity, sports, environment, and the Global India Collective. Thank you. Time for two more questions, Sunny.
Yes.
Over 1.9 million lives have been impacted through your foundation. Is there any one impact that you're particularly proud of?
I would say my pride and joy. I mean, each of these initiatives is very, very dear to me. I love sports, and we have big audacious goals. But we have this concept of change makers. In the villages of Punjab, we hire people from the young boys and girls from the village. We train them to run our initiatives, all of them. So we then back off and they run it. And they're groomed in governance. They're groomed in those. We nurture them in terms of how to be progressive. So we groom them and we mentor them and we show them how to run the projects, how to be progressive, etc., etc. Now, we today have close to 500 plus change makers. Will be more than 1,000 by the end of the year. The interesting thing is that these change makers are young boys and girls. They make a stipend, so they have a living. They know the demographics of the village better than the government does. They know the parents, they know the kids. They're talking to the parents, and your kids are for sport. They're looking at the nature projects, environmental projects, etc. And when you sit down and you look at them, you will get goosebumps. I get goosebumps every time I see them. It's a force to reckon with because these are youngsters who have been empowered thinking, I mean something, I am somebody, I make a living, and I'm proud that I have dignity of work. I'm respected because of the work I'm doing, and I can see impact. You can't buy that. You simply can't buy that. And you can't stop these people. The ideas, and they speak great English. They look at your eyes and talk to you, and they'll give you a firm handshake. In the villages. I get goosebumps every time I meet them collectively.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you're rightfully proud of that, absolutely. And my last question for you, Sunny.
Yeah.
Great education, amazing business, built a foundation, looking at wellness. What next for Sunny? What is the legacy you want to leave?
So you'll be surprised. I don't believe in legacies.
Okay.
So you'll never see the Sunny Singh name anywhere on my foundation. There'll be, unless I'm to be, yes, I'm a founder, fair enough. I don't even carry title of CEO. I don't believe in legacies because, this is what I joke to my friends and everybody. I said, look, when I die, my kids will put my picture up for a couple, 3 years, whatever. They'll get married, then other pictures will come in. And, it's the outside of mind kind of deal. So who cares? Who gives a shit, so to speak, to be very honest.
Absolutely.
So this legacy stuff, it doesn't appeal and talk to me. For me, the way I look at it is we do so much for our kids. We give them great education, we invest in them, we want them to be great citizens, great human beings, thrive, etc., get married to the right person, have, blah, blah, blah. And we are destroying our world.
Correct.
Social media, the planet, etc., etc. So my take is, I want to be able to look into my kids' eyes, and so that they can say, thank you, Dad, you did something good for us because you're leaving the world in a better place than you found it.
Amazing.
And that should be the responsibility of every parent and every adult in the world to leave the world better for the next generation, because we don't own it. And we didn't tell, the kids didn't say, come bring us into this world. We brought them into this world. Correct. So we owe a responsibility to them. They owe nothing to us. We owe it to them. Absolutely. That we are bringing you into a good world versus a dying world or a deteriorating world. And so that's the only thing that keeps me going, that what can I do to, and my take is, I cannot go to bed happy if I know somebody's unhappy. That's, and I'll leave you with one last thought to for your readers, because I think it's very important. I have this 10% rule for everybody. I say, start young, no matter which age, start giving 1% of your time for somebody else's happiness. Then give 2%, and then go up to 10% of your time you give for somebody else's happiness. Then start with 1% of your money, go up to 10%. Now, if a company owned 90% market share, that company is very happy. Yeah. You never hear a company saying 90% market share, we're unhappy. So if you own 90% of your wealth, 90% of your time, but you're giving 10% to somebody else's happiness, your friends, somebody struggling, some social issue, etc. That's not asking for much. That is not asking for much. So my take is, graduate to 10% and become a 10%er.
Amazing. And on that note, graduate to a 10%, become a 10%er. Sunny, thank you so much for speaking to me about your own incredible journey. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing through RoundGlass in India and, of course, in the US. I just love your perspectives of how, even though Indian Americans are so successful, it's so important for them to keep giving back to your adopted country or the country of your birth, which may be America. And that's a very, very powerful statement that you've made on my podcast. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Ashutosh, thank you for your time, and it's truly lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.